Okay, good morning. Namaste to all. So let's start the class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhu Bhavaswaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. अस्तो मा सद्गम्या तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गम्या मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गम्या ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि ओम शांति 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 ओम. Today is Wednesday, a day for our general topic. And I've been thinking about that in the past, we talked about the power of positive thinking, right eating, disciplined life, doing our duties. All these topics we have covered. So even after doing all that, can we say that there won't be any problems in our life? No. Something which will always come called problem. That's why the Murphy's law, you are all familiar with. If anything can go wrong, it will. So when the problems come, as a yoga student, how do we handle them? Do we break down? Should we become negative and sob? Or should we become bitter and start blaming God and the stars or the parents or the grandparents? Because if we approach a problem with another problem, what happens? Then we have a bigger problem. Problems are everywhere. They say that's life. They say this is life. The reality of life is that there will be problems. If you are working for somebody, you can justify your job only if you can solve the problems. Otherwise, your employer doesn't need you. So if there are no problems in the job, there's no reason for you to have a job. So the very first thing we got to remember that we need to expect problems in life. And if problems happen, what should we do? What should be our attitude? This is the attitude, expect problems. It's almost like if you're going uphill, what should you do? You're climbing up, you will get tired because you are progressing, you're going up. So the sign of progress is you are facing hurdles, problems, obstacles, hardships. So that's why I said that first thing you need to do is expect problems if we are growing. This world has two sides, day and night. In a rose plant, you will see the roses also, thorns also. How can you think that there should be only roses or there should be only the day, no night? So expect problems. Then you should anticipate problems. When you start a new venture, you should anticipate all kinds of problems. Even when you're starting to meditate, starting to learn how to do the Jal Neti, how to do yoga exercises, anticipate some problems. You are cleaning up. The dirt will rise up. And then we got to learn how to face the problems. Face it. Be realistic about it. Don't be like an ostrich. When ostrich sees the problem, his head he dunks his head into the mud and he thinks problem is solved. When we were children, we did that. Have you seen little kids just hiding behind their parents? That's a dunking the head. But as we get older, we got to learn how to face the problems. Another thing you should always remember, think of the people who have bigger problems. Sometimes when I counsel people, very ordinary things people get worried about. My child is going to school in the other town. I always tell them it's a good thing that they are going. That's not a problem. If your child wouldn't go, then that's a problem. The real problem is people are getting killed in the wars. That's a problem. We get upset over little things like if a spouse presses the toothpaste tube from the front, we think that's a problem. Or over the toilet seat, or over how the toilet roll is placed in the holder. Those are not the problems. Think of the people who have real problems. I'm sure you have seen that cartoon, Peanut, when your kids were little. Snoopy, the dog, had a problem. What was his problem? This was a turkey time. Thanksgiving. Everybody in the house is just roaming around. And he's in the cage. He said, everybody's out. They are eating. They're enjoying the company. And I'm in the cage. Then he happened to see the turkey on the table. Then he realized, oh my, the turkey's problem is far bigger than my problem. I'm at least alive in the cage. So if you think you have a problem, so what? Learn how to handle the problems. Change your perspective towards the problem. We make the mountains out of the molehills. The positive thinking should be to make a molehill out of the mountain. So that's why the saints, the gurus, they say that have a proper prospect of the problem. Sometimes we can even laugh at our problems. And then when we laugh at it, we can learn, we can see what we can learn from the problems. Because problems are always a learning opportunity. If you made a mistake last year or last time, learn from it. If you make the same mistake again, that's the problem. You've all heard about this little joke. One drunkard was walking down the street and he had a blister on the ear. Someone asked him, what happened? You have a blister on your ear. He said, I was ironing my clothes on the ironing table and my phone rang. Instead of picking up the phone, I picked up the iron and put it on the ear. The person asked the drunkard, how about on the other ear? How come you have a blister on the other ear? He said, the pool called me again. That's a problem, right? So if you fall into the pool, you should learn how to get out of it. If you don't learn swimming and you fall into the pool again and again, then that is a problem. So from the problems, we can learn also. Make it a learning opportunity. That's why the popular saying, smooth sea will never make a skillful sailor. If the sea is, there are waves, there's a whirlpool, then sure, you will enhance your capability. So without problems, you will never perfect your abilities. People also say that problems come as tests. Just like a students have the tests after they study. At the end of the test, they find out whether they have passed or not. So when the problems come, then you understand. These tests are the opportunities to know your skills and become better. Because from our perspective, from our tamasic perspective, laziness, we want to be comfortable. But from God's perspective, He has sent us here to become better. He wants us to move closer to the sainthood, godhood. That is a success. So as far as God is concerned, how much we have evolved, how much we have grown spiritually. So these problems, if we look at them as opportunities, we will grow. That's why they say that these are the opportunities given to us by God, because He wants us to grow. Someone said, I pray to God for strength. He gave me difficulties to overcome, that I may become strong. I pray to God for wisdom. He gave me problems to solve, that I may grow in wisdom. I pray to Him for bravery and courage. He gave me dangers to surmount. I pray to Him for love. He gave me poor and needy to serve, so that I develop a loving heart. Then at the end, He said, my prayers were answered. So these problems, remember, they are very often blessings in disguise. I'm sure you have all heard about Steve Jobs. I read that about his interview, what he said about himself on the internet. He was invited to a Stanford University for convocation address. He said that this is the closest he has come to convocation because he never graduated. Then in that address, he related to the problems he had in his life, even before birth, because his mother was unwed. His mother put him for adoption right after the birth. She was a graduate student. So she put the condition that I will give my child to only those parents who have graduated. That means educated. Steve Jobs immersed into this world. He was expected to be a girl. And that couple wanted to adopt only a girl, not a boy. He refused to adopt him. So the mother kept him. And then she again tried to put him for adoption. But she again had the same condition. that the parents got to be graduated. 3 months passed, nobody came. Finally, a couple came. They were not graduates, but she couldn't keep him. So she said, okay, make a promise to me that you will send him to school, college, so that he become a graduate. The parents said, okay, we will. They raised him, got him into the Reed's College, the most expensive college in the country of that time. After studying there for a few months, he felt that it was a tremendous burden on the parents because it was very expensive. It was not worth it. He dropped out. He said that it was a good thing that he dropped out because now he was staying with his friends in the dorms, working morning till night, making some money. He was collecting soda bottles from the garbage and sell them for 5 cents. And he could have only 1 square meal a week. And that was a Sunday meal at the Krishna temple. Once a week. And that was 7 miles away. And he said it good thing it happened in his convocation address over there. He said, I got registered into the same school, but I have freedom to attend the classes I wanted to attend. Classes of his interest. And that college had the best calligraphy course in the USA. He learned that. Those are the fonts he used later on for Apple computer. According to him, because of all this Apple computer and Microsoft, whatever it is right now, it is because of those classes. This is seeing the blessing in disguise. He said at the age of 20 with his friends, he started his first plant of personal computer. With his friends, by the age 30, he had grown that company into $4 billion business. Then he was thrown out of the Apple because he had some investors who had the majority share. And because of a difference in opinion, he was thrown out. But he did not give up. He did not say, what a big problem. After some time, he just, with the spirit of inventor, he started 2 companies. He created technology, and later on, that same technology we use in the iPhones. He had 2 companies, they were taken over by Apple again, and he re-entered Apple. He explained that the things which seems to be bad were not really so bad. They were ultimately blessings in disguise. Compared to this, if you look at our life, the situations which we call problems, are they really problems? Things are not as bad as mind makes them to be. Our mind is the one which is giving a color that it's so bad. So do not give up. Do not give up. One man went to God, said, God, I want to give up. There are so many problems in my life. I don't have a job. My health is failing. Problems in the family. House is leaking. God said, do not give up. He said, why not? Tell me one reason that I should give up. God said, let me give you my example. I planted these 2 seeds, fern seed and the bamboo seed, in the earth at the same time. The fern seed sprouted in the first few days. It was visible, that sapling, but nothing came out of bamboo. But I did not give up. In a couple of weeks, there was another fern. Lot of little plants over there. The whole year went by, nothing from that bamboo seed. And I said, okay, let me give a little bit more time. I gave another year, nothing. One more year, still nothing. 4 years went by, nothing. And I was thinking that I should give up. In the 5th year, a little sapling came out, green, poking its head out of the soil. In 6 months, that bamboo sprouted 80 feet high. All of a sudden, there was this growth. Those 5 years, what was it doing? It was spreading its roots to go so high. It needed strong, deep roots. Fern can grow only so high. Bamboo can grow a lot higher. So what was the success then? Because normally we look at the outer achievement as the success. But what is the success and what is the failure? You will say that 5 years bamboo is a failure. But what is the definition of a failure? And what is the definition of a success? Growing from within is the definition of a success. Growth within. We look at it only how much we have grown outside. That is not the success in the real sense. We look at it, the car we can buy, the house we live in, the friends we have, the physical health we have. That is not the real success. Bible says, what to profit the man if he gained the whole world but lost his eternal soul? So the real success is when we know ourselves. Do we really know ourselves? So God wants us to succeed from within. God wants us to become a better person. That is God's perspective. And problems are there to help you become a better person. More problems you have solved, more competent you have become. Sometimes there could be emotional problems, spiritual problems, physical problems, social problems, relationship problems, whatever the problem, it is by solving problems you become an expert. This is God's way of helping us to evolve. We got to take the flight into this kind of a destination. But when we lack understanding of this complete diagram, then we don't realize this. We want somebody else to snip away our problems. We don't realize that problem-less life means progress-less life. God always arranges a life for us like this. Chandogya Upanishad. You are all familiar with the Upanishads, the deep studies, question answers. Questions put in by the students and the answers are given by the Guru. There's a question asked by a student over there, why God let earthquakes or other disasters happen? Is there a defect in God's design? The Guru says, no, God has created such an astonishing design. There's no defect. Guru answers that question by saying that God does not want humans to be complacent. He creates challenges and difficulties. Humans have to face them, and by facing them, they have to exert themselves physically, emotionally, spiritually, and from that they rise. This is the rising of the soul in the continuous lifetimes to the ultimate destination. So different struggles, different challenges every time when we come here. That's why Swami Vivekananda said, the prophets, they are not unique. They are human beings like you and I. They just attained the super consciousness, and we need to attain that too, learning from their lifetimes. That's why, according to him, what is a religion? Religion is not just going to the temple and rubbing your nose on the floor. Religion is the science of how to become perfect like God. That's religion. Religion. That's why Bible says, be you perfect, as your Father in heaven is perfect. So this is what we need to attain. But how many people really understand this? We beg to God. We even go to some tombstones and ask that we should not have a problem. So God's perspective is problems are not bad things. They are opportunities for us to grow. It's not that you say that God give me problems, but if the problems come, accept them with a proper attitude. Learn from them and move ahead. So problems, remember, they are part of the journey. See them as learning opportunity. Do not get disturbed from the problems. And how not to get disturbed from the problems? When we have a positive approach to the problem, when we have a learning opportunities, when we see that we can learn something from this obstacle, when we can understand that these are the blessing in disguise, and we need to grow from them, and growing from within. So now what attitude we keep towards them so that problems do not disturb us? Because we do get disturbed. There are primarily two kinds of problems for us human beings. Something bad happened in the past. One is that somebody passed away, or a loss of some kind of a property. Okay, so these are primarily two areas where we think that it's a problem. Average person, what do they start doing? They start lamenting about it in the present. Why did this happen to me? Why? It's really bad. So if we lament about it in the present, mind keeps on going into the past. You are not doing a justice to the present. That means you're not living in the present. Your mind is still in the past. That's where Lord Krishna, as a Yogeshwar Krishna, teaching us the Karma Yoga, what did he say? Remember God and do good. Do your duty and remember God. If you are lamenting over the past, you are not remembering God. All you are remembering is the past. And that's also painful past. So it is very simple. You have to release it. Whatever happened in the past, release it. Then people say, how can we do that? Such a terrible thing happened to me. It's easy for you to say. I love that person so much. How can I let that go? Then you got to think about it. If you're lamenting right now, it's not helping you. For your own sake, release it. Then they say, how do I release it? It does not happen. That's what Naraji said in the Bhakti Sutras. Beautiful verse we are all studying on once a week. Verse number 61. He said, Lok hanau chintana karya niveditatma lokvadshil tavat. He says, if there's a loss in the world, nivedita, do not worry. Chinta mat kar. Think that it's a God's grace who's helping you to become detached from this worldly attachment. It was God's grace snatching away your attachment. It's almost like a child is playing outside, not paying attention to the mother calling the child in. Dinner time, lunch time. But he's playing with the toys. Unintelligent mother will say, Beta, no toy, come in. But intelligent mother will arrange so that the toy has been taken away and the child will come in. When the toy has been taken away momentarily, the child will cry. But soon enough, a child will remember the mother. Similarly, in this world, we are playing with various kinds of toys. And we have forgotten our eternal mother. These are all toys. So what does God do? As a special grace, he snatches away the toys. Sure, we get disturbed at that time. We start saying that, why did this happen to me? But it's a God's way of gracing us. God says in Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana, that also we study every Monday. He says, when I wish to bestow special grace on somebody, I snatch away that person's worldly luxuries. But our concept of grace is different. Grace is not that by which you get your next car. Remember that. Grace is that by which your soul is elevated. That is grace. Our concept of grace itself is defective. We think we are going to God, we are going to the temple, we have done so much seva. In the worldly sense, everything should just work out perfectly for me. Grace is when we are moving towards Him. Our heart is more and more elevated. What did Kunti say? That's also from Mahabharata also and Bhagavad Purana also. When the Lord asked her after the battle of Mahabharata, when Yudhishthir was the king, Kunti is Maharani. Krishna stayed there for 2 months after that battle, and it was time for him to go back to Dwarka. And Kunti said, now you are leaving. How will we survive without you? Krishna said, I am very pleased with your devotion. Ask me for a boon. Kunti said, oh Krishna, give me problems, give me lack of worldly comforts. Lord Krishna said, what are you saying, Bhua? Please ask for worldly pleasures. I'm ready to give you anything right now. She said, no, the more worldly opulence we get, the more we get attached and we get away from you. Only when this worldly opulence is taken away from me, I remember you and I feel close to you. This is what she asked for. And this is the grace of God. God sometimes gives misery so that we turn away from sins and seek Him. From Bible. No matter which scripture you open, the same message. Shri Krishna is saying that it's Mad Anugraha. This is my blessing when something like this happens. So if we understand this principle, when our priority is not the material success, material comfort, our priority is the spiritual progress, then we can have the right attitude towards the problems in life. We all have had problems, bad experiences. What did we do at that time? Did we remember God? Did we move towards God at that time? If we move towards God, then that was a great opportunity we did not miss. If we moved away from God, then we missed that opportunity. Problems have come, different ways of problems, and that is part of life, as I said earlier. So problem is not with the problems. Problem is with our attitude towards the problems. Can we learn from them, or do we just lose ourselves in them? So to summarize today's talk, expect and anticipate problems. That's number one. Okay, in life, there will be problems. There's no life without problems. Okay, expect and anticipate. Think of people who have bigger problems. You remember that example? Somebody said, I really don't have a car. Or even a bike. Then he saw somebody without feet. Think of a person who has a bigger problems. See your problems and as learning opportunity. Opportunity to grow. See, like this COVID, for the last year and a half, sure, it's a problem. We couldn't do the things which we normally did. And we grew from there. We are getting together every day, learning, becoming better, using this opportunity to go within. Because otherwise we were constantly, as human race, going outwardly. Going here, there, just constant roaming around. Hopefully, if you have cultivated to go within, keep it. Use it to find the peace in it. So see your problems as learning opportunities and opportunity to grow. Another thing I told you was problems are blessings in disguise. Problems are not as bad as mind makes them. Because the same situation, one person is okay, the other person loses himself. So it's not the problem, it is how we look at the problem. Okay, so I'll stop talking here. If anybody has a question or comment or want to add something to it, we are all ears. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Viseshyate Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.
Hershey, what was the last line you said about the problems?
Things are not as bad as mind makes them. Okay? So that was the last point.
Last point.
I tried to touch upon.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody has any question? No problems?
No, Manju, before anybody starts a question and answer, hold on one second, Hersh.